Hey, welcome back to BlockIQ. I'm in one of my Friday walking videos, and it's June 6th. I'm going to give the usual roundup on the news to do with Bitcoin and blockchain technology for the week. So the first news is the world's largest Bitcoin conference in Las Vegas attracted over 35,000 attendees, including prominent figures like the Donald Trump Jr. kids and Eric Adams. Now, the event have actually highlighted Bitcoin's growing political influence and its evolution from a libertarian ideal to a political and corporate tool. The next news is to do with Trump Media and Technology have actually filed an application to launch one of its own Truth Social Bitcoin ETF, which is similar to the Bitcoin spot ETFs that we're familiar with, aims to hold Bitcoin directly and be listed on the New York Stock Exchange. Now, this move aligns with the Trump administration's push to promote digital assets. So this is actually a good thing in a sense that it's widening up and opening up the market of the spot ETFs, particularly Bitcoin spot ETFs. So this is actually a good move for those institutional investors and high net worth individuals. So that is good news all around. Now, the next piece of news is to do with the Bitcoin's recent price action, where it's actually dipped below $101,000 and is now recovering, or bounced back if you like, to over 104,000 at the time of this recording, June 6. Now, this is largely attributed and influenced by a recent fallout that we're seeing on the news between Donald Trump and Elon Musk. Ethereum has also experienced a significant drop, highlighting the crypto market's sensitivity to political dynamics. Now, this is important to take note of insulating ourselves or yourselves ever more than ever before from the noise, from the shenanigans, and to hodl into your digital assets into the long term to ride out these storms. The next piece of news is to do with these emerging coin projects, real world asset coin projects, to do with Zebek Network, ZBCN, Plume, and Origin Track are gaining traction by tokenizing, as I said before, real world assets, bridging traditional finance and blockchain technology. So that's rather interesting uptake there, because that's another theme that I cover in my channel to do with real world assets tokenization, which precisely sit on top of or rely on the underlying blockchain technology. Now, the next news is XDC Network has actually marked its 6th year since mainnet's launch, which has been recognized for its enterprise-grade blockchain solutions in trade finance, payments, and asset tokenization. So again, I think this is a competitor to XRP. So XBDC Network, is a competitor of XRP, and it's growing prominence. So that's rather interesting. And then I want to round off on this today's news, on the recent interview that we've seen from Saylor at the CNBC Squawk Box, which originally is a kind of a regular attendee, in providing his intake on the outlook of Bitcoin's projection. So what are the key highlights from that interview which I found interesting? Well, given the 6 months at office of Trump, there's been significant tailwinds in terms of the evolution of Bitcoin and opening up the crypto assets at large. So Bitcoin, for the first time, and even more so than ever before, has been acknowledged now as one digital commodity. Also, banks have actually received the green light in order to bank and custody Bitcoin for its customers by the financial regulators. And next, the accountants have actually upgraded their corporate balance sheets to fair value accounting by the new FASB rules. Now, this point is quite important because before the new FASB rules that came into effect January this year, 2025, the companies weren't at that moment able to include the digital assets as an accretive factor in their balance sheet. So it was more of a detriment, which was one of the major obstacles to overcome, particularly for those publicly registered companies who are rather resistant to add or even invest in crypto assets. Now, ever since these new FASB rules have come about, bring this new fair value accounting rules, well, that actually has changed the situation. So this is actually very good in a sense that it's going to open up even more publicly registered companies to now invest heavily in the leading digital assets, predominantly Bitcoin. So that is good news. And then really Saylor has actually, given what he said all in the above, in terms of the Bitcoin treasury companies, they're really coming out from all angles. There's a lot of announcements every other week, if not every other day. There's a new announcement of a brand new Bitcoin treasury company, which is copycatting what Strategy and Michael Saylor's team has done in terms of adopting the Bitcoin standard as a way to issue debt, to buy Bitcoins, to store it as a store of value in their corporate treasury reserve. So bear in mind that ever since the halving that took place in April last year, that means that only 450 mined or minted new daily Bitcoins are brought back into circulation, which as a result, given that there's only a handful of coins produced daily, they are swamped and being consumed by these Bitcoin treasury companies. So this is going to add more of a supply shock factor in terms of increasing that demand and exacerbating the price through the roof. So given all of the above, Saylor's predictions on Bitcoin is still bullish more than ever before. He's made some interesting sightings on the usual CAGR, the compound annual growth rate of return of Bitcoin. He's expecting to see more or less 29% CAGR over the next 21 years for Bitcoin alone. And given he made this prediction originally at the last Bitcoin Nashville conference, if you recall, last year, that was the prediction he's made at the time, 25% CAGR for the next 21 years. And that was bearing in mind of the price back then of Bitcoin when it was hovering the mid 60K to 30 million per coin by 2045. Now he's actually increased his predictions for the future price of Bitcoin. So he's becoming even more bullish. So as an upgrade to those predictions, he's anticipating now a 30% CAGR over the next 20 years, where the last 4 years alone have actually seen a whopping 57% CAGR just over the past 4 years alone. So if you take all of the above, you can clearly see that Bitcoin is indeed smashing everything. It's smashing all of its competitors, all of the asset classes, whether it's the gold, whether it's the commodities, the bond market, the S&P, the financial capital markets. It's clearly smashing every single one of those asset classes. So I like to leave today's news just as a resounding reminder that if you have spare cash floating around and you don't know what to invest in, you can't go wrong now to invest part of that into Bitcoin, hodl in the long term, and to remind yourself to DCA, dollar cost average, every now and again, because by doing so you're going to be the last person standing and reaping the rewards. So hopefully you found this snippet of news, walking news, interesting. If you have, please don't forget to hit the like button, to share this video to other like-minded friends and colleagues, and if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to my channel, as I regularly publish some interesting videos such as these, anything to do with Bitcoin, blockchain technology, and the future of finance. So invest smartly and invest in Bitcoin. Till then.